Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new edition of DevLive, a dialogue with speakers and partners about the largest conference dedicated to developers and IT professionals, DevTalks. I'm Andrea Balaj, and I'm happy to present you Martin Knobloch, Global AppSec Strategist from Microsoft, who will join DevTalks this year. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start to accommodate with our attendees and talk a little bit about your career in tech field and what do you love most about the IT industry?
What I love most about the IT industry, I think it's the abilities in the change. So it's a quite young industry, right? Not much changed, but everything is changing. It's like this double-sided sword about when you work for somewhere for so long time that you think everything's the same, but for the same time, it's not the same. And this being a young industry, we try to compare ourselves with engineers, but are we do engineering? You have so many new people come into the field, the energy in it. So that's what we enjoy a lot.
So much energy in the industry. Yes. So. Yeah,
it's everywhere now these days, so it's so nice. I came from a time when telephones were analog. Now your smartphones have more computer power than when we went to the moon. So that's so great, right?
Yeah. So now let's talk more about your job, and I have a question and a curiosity for you. What's the best job decision you ever made till now?
The best decision I made, I think there are two. I don't know which one is better. The first is to go into IT. Actually, I'm a self-trained developer who became a professional developer back in the 90s. And the second is to go into security. I think software security, it's hard. It was not so much when I started in 2005. But these days, I think that the most beneficial I can do, go into software security or be security aware. That's the best decisions I had to make. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the most interesting solution to a vulnerability that you found working as an AppSec strategist?
Yeah, it's always the thing, like the one that has the least impact and the most result. Companies try to look and find this silver bullet. There's one thing, the one solution to everything. But it's a great thing in software in general, in IT, that you don't have this one bullet solution. You have to have a combination of the human aspect, where to address it, how to share it. It makes it dynamic. So I think that the most beneficial ones are, for example, just use frameworks. All those volunteers who write software to be used all over the world. When we look at, I had conversations with Log4j teams. It's just a handful of people writing software that is worldwide used. And unfortunately, they made the news with Log4Shell, but they really are trying to solve it. And they're really open to have people help them out. And that's what I really like. Yeah, that's the shared aspect of this, trying to solve some things. You're not just blaming, but helping each other. I think that's a thing we have to go to.
Regarding trusting frameworks and writing software, what's your favorite security tool and why?
Oh, wow. I think the best tool, and I think the only tool that you can rely on is your brain, right? we know that a fool with a tool is still a fool, and a tool with a fool is still a tool. Your brain is because it's like when I grew up, and we had then suddenly we were allowed to have a calculator in using math. So everybody was like, "Oh, that's so much easier because you don't have to calculate by your head anymore." My father was a banker, and he said, "Always use your head first to see the sum of outcomes." And the same for tools. When you use tools for security validation, sometimes just to have the experience and the feeling there is something, and maybe the tool says there is nothing, everything's okay, but just this notch in your head, like something doesn't look well. That's the way you look at it. So you never choose your approach by a tool, but you have to find a tool that supports your approach. And these days with CI/CD, it's even more so. So it's not that you rely to a tool helping you in security your supply chain, right? It's the combination of tools, and tools these days. What's really great with all the APIs and the connectability, it's so good that you have this whole tool chain, not just one monolith who tries to solve many things, but you have several tools who are very specialized and can work together. You can orchestrate that with by operating them via API calls and stuff. That makes it nice. So it's the tool box in general is so much better these days.
Okay. Having this in mind, how do you see the future of work?
I think that definitely when you look in DevOps and DevTalk, so that's why I like so much, because the developers, they are building or breaking security, because you build a tool, so you are responsible. So what does change? And I think, and that what I really advocate is that we go away from the security stick. And with security stick, I mean this policy-driven, you shall not have any critical or high vulnerabilities in your source code. Because then you're too late, because the source code has been written, most likely has been already in your release process, and then the security finds a vulnerability and says, stop, you cannot go anywhere. These days with DevOps, that's what I like. DevOps is the responsibility of a team. When I start software development, you had kind of DevOps because you were the whole IT chain. So my first project, from the front end to the back end database and back to the front end, we had to develop everything ourselves because there were no frameworks, there were no other IT departments. I was internal in a company for writing a software product. So these days we go back to actually this, that you have the responsibility as a team over this small but very essential project, right? So what's changing is that as a developer, you cannot hide like, oh, it was not in the specs, but because you have much more requirements or things you should know. So you have to educate yourself continuously. What's changed is the responsibility. So security, I think, doesn't actually do any security, right? We are not securing anything. I'm not a security guard holding your private data and say, no, you're not allowed to see it, and you may view it, and you may change it. No, we are showing insecurity. So what we should do, actually, we have the security knowledge. We are the mentor and sponsor for security in software development. I think that is changing. The developer is responsible. But for responsibility, you need the abilities. And that's where we come into. We have to mentor and sponsor, mentor knowledge, sponsor on whatever costs money, and monitor that it is in the right path. And not doing security. I think that's a big change in the coming years. Yeah.
Okay. Can you also share free ideas that the participants will get from your talk at DevTalks?
So it's essentially about responsibilities and that. So how you do this different new change. We have in the past, we have seen that people try to put things in by policy. So security try to put security up on developers. But I said only those who can security who build it actually. So I have all the requirements. Even we want to be in we compared sometimes with a physical construction building. Is yes, the architect can do all the calculations and measures. If those who actually mix the concrete doesn't keep them to policy and doing it right, and doesn't understand why they have to do it, this whole house will collapse. And the same for software. You have a responsibility in your whole chain of functionality. Even if in a small project, in the better of enterprise software, you have a very known and important part, because the business doesn't pay you just for being there. They want to have a return of value and that. So what I help you in my talk is to show you what is the new responsibility of a developer and what you can expect and should be able to expect from security. And also for the security people, what is not working in the past, what will work in the future. When you are a professional software developer, you're not doing a hobby project. Now you're writing enterprise code. In the enterprise code, you have enterprise expectations. And I will help you to how to live up those enterprise level expectations in your software.
Okay, thank you. So my next question goes to, it's connected to our team, Artificial Intelligence Humanity Reimagined. This is the theme for this year edition. So I would like to ask you if you are more optimistic or pessimistic about the artificial intelligence benefits for humanity on the long term.
It's always what you expect to be it and how to be used, right? It's AI by itself. You can have some great technology and then try to where I can push this solution up on, and that will fail. So there are very natural problems that you can solve with AI. And that's the two ways. So when I look at Gary McGraw has about the AI security problems or risk, is one that we will trust something that is created by us, by AI, more than by humans, because we think that AI will be not based, but actually because it's written by software by people, and we train that people it's based. So we have also to learn how to use AI and the best. Everything that is repeatable, when we have a lot of data, AI can help us a lot. That's what you want, right? That's what is very studious work, repeating work. When you have a lot of data grinding, their AI is great. If I would put my life these days on AI when I drive a car, maybe on an American highway with very little traffic, but definitely not in Eastern Europe, village road work when it's really, really busy, right? So it's always the context where AI is used, and we will get somewhere, but it will take time. It's not happening overnight.
Okay, that's true. How do you keep with the current trends in the IT field? Maybe you can share some ideas with us.
It's really hard, and I really miss conferences. And I think conferences were always the best way to get new knowledge. And it's not, of course, it's the talks, right? Because for the most audience, the talk is where you get the knowledge. When you get upon a certain age and you get a lot of conferences, it's the hallways where actually you learn the interesting thing. So I hear the talk from somebody, that's really interesting. But then hear what they couldn't talk about, or what actually was the reason that they came up with the talk, that makes it. So the community, the hive of security of development people, that's important. So find what I did when I bicycle in the morning. I have my podcast that I listen to. When you see behind me, I have a rowing machine, my podcast, so that's why I keep up to date. And what I really, really miss is the grapevine of security. That's the hallways of conferences. I'm looking forward that this will be able. Luckily, it will be possible again.
Yeah, that's true. The conferences were missed, especially
Yeah,
the
human.
face interaction.
Yeah, even I really believe in work from home and being able to balance that. And I have to my same before COVID, I traveled a lot, and I met all these great people. But during COVID, I'm now homebound. But now I have the time with my little one and see him grow up and bring him to school and have a dinner every night with him. The other side is I miss the social aspect. So yes,
Yeah.
working from home is really great and beneficial. But on the other side, you cannot do in a 3-day online meeting what you can do in a half day or full day in-person meeting.
Yeah, that's true. So, how do you have any advice for the aspiring tech people who want to grow in the tech industry now?
Yeah, I think being technology agnostic. So try to understand technology, not only using it, but understand how it works and why it's there. When you start a new field, everything becomes so when you're new in the field. First of all, everything is like rocket science. It's overwhelming, but be patient. I think that's one for younger people, that you have to be patient to see where you go and see what's happening. You cannot change the world in a year. When you're 20, a year feels much longer than when you're 40 or 50. So suddenly a year gets shorter. So be patient and do one step at a time. And therefore, currently I could say whenever you have a security interest, try to get into security, because right, that's where the money is. And on the other side, in your development security aware, you're more valuable for the business as a security person, because when you're a security aware developer, you don't make the mistakes that has to be removed afterwards.
Okay, that's a valuable advice. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you, Martin, for accepting our invitation, and we are eager to meet you at DevTalks. So now we'll leave our audience and with the following message. Join us on 8 and 10 of June and get inspired by a fantastic lineup of speakers and 40 partners that are trusting us. Thank you, and see you in another live meeting. Bye.
See you in Bucharest.
See you.